Hi, my name is Chandra, and I'm going to take you along for some family dinners. This night we are having einkorn butternut squash gnocchi. So the einkorn I'm using is an all-purpose einkorn from Jovial brand, and the squash I cubed and then steamed until it was tender. So I'm just kneading all this together, and gnocchi is something that always seemed like it would be hard to make, but once I actually started making it, I find it is very simple, and I think you would find that too. So I'm going to knead this all together and let it sit for a minute to really let that einkorn absorb the liquid. I do not need any egg or anything, just the squash has enough liquid for this dough. After this has rested for about 15 minutes, I'm going to divide it up into smaller pieces that I can roll into about 1.5 feet, 18-inch long rope, maybe about 1/2 inch thick. And then I will cut that into little inch and a half long pieces, like gnocchi size. Sometimes I'll take a fork and roll that over the back of it to give it those little ridges that gnocchi has. Tonight I just cut them up, and I don't really care too much if they have the ridges or not. The sauce still sticks just fine. And I'm gonna put these onto a floured tray and put them in my freezer until I'm actually ready to cook them. Einkorn can tend to get a little sticky if it just sits out. So the freezer will preserve it until I'm ready to put it in the water, and being frozen or not doesn't make too much of a difference with a fresh pasta as far as cooking time. You just need to wait for these to float, and then they are done. Here's my very simple sauce for this tonight. It is just some chopped tomatoes, some basil dried from my garden, an onion, and a little bit of olive oil. That will just all simmer together, and then I'll remove the onion, and that'll be it. Some salt. We're gonna have some bread with this tonight as well. I just baked that this day. The water should be heavily salted. There is no salt in a pasta dough, but the water should taste like salt water. So I wouldn't say I taste it every time, but I do dump a whole lot in, and the more the better. It tastes really good when the pasta is nice and salty. Next night we are having chicken legs. So I've divided up the thighs from the drumsticks. This is the way I cook chicken probably most often, and it ends in nice crispy skin, which is very important to us. So I put a pan on medium until it gets good and hot. I do not put any fat down in there because the chicken skin will render and create plenty of fat. And I will brown that skin, and when it is very deeply browned, I'll move it into an oven at 375 until it's done. I probably start checking after 20 minutes. I actually don't know how long it takes, but you want it to be 170 degrees. And it doesn't take too long. I wouldn't say more than half an hour. I guess it depends on how long it gets seared for. Then I am making some rice to go with this. A little bit of a rice pilaf tonight. I put some onion top pesto in there with some oil. Sauteed that a little bit, then added the rice, and I'm going to throw in some raisins as well. That was a tasty little rice, although Nora, my 2-year-old, did not agree. She said she likes only plain rice. I'm using chicken stock to make this rice. I do, this is white basmati rice. I do 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of stock. If I want leftovers, I'll do 1.5 cups of rice to 3 cups of stock. Now that pan that has all that really good chicken flavor and fat, I will saute some green beans. These are from my garden. I've had them in the freezer. I just put them right in frozen. I've got that pan, it was in the oven, but then I also put it on high. So those green beans can both thaw and get a good sear on them, so they look kind of blackened in spots. This was an exciting week because we purchased a whole pig and it arrived and we had ribs that Friday. So I'm making a little barbecue sauce here, which is very simple: ketchup, brown sugar, vinegar, some spices, and just cook it. I just look up a recipe. I use a different one every time. I'm making some potato salad to go with those ribs, and it's going to be like a summery meal. So for the ribs, I make a dry rub. I can link the one I used. This time I didn't have chili powder, so I had to use something different than usual, and it ended up really good. I liked it a lot. So I rubbed the ribs with a dry rub, sealed them up tightly in aluminum foil, and put them in the oven around 300 for 4 or 5 hours until they are tender, falling off the bone. Then all the juices that have collected in there, I pour out and add to my barbecue sauce. And that is what Joe uses to then grill the ribs in order to reheat them. And then he bastes them with that barbecue sauce with the drippings added on the grill. So that gives them that blackened coating on the outside, but the tenderness of the slow cook in the oven. Now I'm getting some green beans going again because we have a lot of green beans. And our CSA, our community supported agriculture, is on break in the month of January. So I don't have any fresh greens and stuff coming in right now. So I'm using a lot of green beans. And this time I am doing an Asian inspired green beans. So I've got garlic and ginger and coconut aminos, which is like a soy sauce substitute, some sherry vinegar, and I needed a little bit of water to deglaze that. I didn't want to add more soy sauce or coconut aminos. And here is our summery dinner. So this day I went skiing with my son. He's learning to ski this year. So I wanted a very easy dinner, and this one, a big part of it happens the day before, so it fit the bill. This is sweet potato I have going in the pan here. I forgot to record the pork belly, which I sauteed up first. And that pork belly is cooked the day before, low and slow. Pork belly is the part of the pig that bacon is made from, but instead of being smoked, this is fresh. So it cooks up and is very crispy because it's very fatty. It's really good. So I crisped up the pork belly first, then added the cubed sweet potato, some onion, some vinegar, red wine vinegar, and maple syrup. And this, I made a ton of this because I'm going to use it for breakfast for myself in the following days. Now we will fry some eggs, put that on top. When I use it for breakfast, I also add greens. I saute some kale and then throw the sweet potato and pork belly mixture in to reheat on top of that, and top it with a couple fried eggs. It's so good. Last, we have an easy Monday night dinner. This is some ground beef going down into my hot pan. I do not add any sort of fat or oil to this pan because the ground beef from the cow we get is very fatty, so it creates its own fat in the pan. I'm going to brown this up, add seasonings, soy sauce, well, I'll use coconut aminos. I'm going to add some shaved Brussels sprouts, some grated carrots, some scallion, and then I will add to all of that some vermicelli rice noodles. Those are the really skinny ones. And this was a very easy, quick dinner. This recipe I can definitely link below. I do add all of these vegetables on my own, so I'm just making a little well in the middle of the ground beef, sauteing some onions, and then I will put in the Brussels sprouts. I just used those because that's what I had. Same with the carrots. But if I hadn't added those things, there would not have been any vegetables in this meal. So that's pretty easy just to add to any stir-fry type of thing. I always keep ginger frozen and just pull out, I break it into little chunks when I get it and freeze it like that, and pull out what I need and grate it right from frozen into my dish. It works really well, and I always have ginger, fresh ginger, on hand. I'm going to make a little slurry here with half a cup of water and a couple tablespoons of arrowroot powder, which I use instead of cornstarch, and that will just thicken this up very quickly. Well, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you got some fresh ideas from seeing what we had for dinner this week.